Hi Gemini, welcome to your week ahead horoscope with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, share, and if you should so choose and it resonates, hit that subscribe button. If you are already a continued subby, you know I love you for it. With that said, if you would like to book a personal reading with me, you can do so on the website addressed below. And as always, I would like to bless all of my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity, and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise and they help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. So let's see what the week ahead has in store for you, Gemini. What is going on with your actions and your path ahead? And this week you get... So you've got the Queen of Wands, right? So this week, Gemini, it looks like you have pretty much had enough. When I see this card, very often as an experience for me, the Queen of Wands is always about redefining your boundaries. This is about where you assert your personal power. And I would say this even more so than the King, right? Especially when it comes to the suit of Wands. The Queen of Wands is feisty, vibrant, sensual, sexual. She's powerful. You know, she's completely aware of who she is and what power, what power she holds within her. And she is not afraid to use that power. The fact that you have a Wands card in the actions and path, which is the fire sector, bodes very, very well for you. And what this talks about for me, because as I said, she's about reaffirming or redefining your boundaries. And with the last couple of weeks and possibly even the last month that you guys have had, this really feels for me like this week you kind of say enough, right? You know, where you slam your hand down on the floor or the table and just say, right, you know what, we're not going to continue this way. This is where you reaffirm your own boundaries and say, right, you know what, I feel like you're overstepping the mark. I feel like you're taking things too far. This is where you effectively draw that line in the sand, right? This week, this is you saying, look, this is as far as I've allowed things to go, and it's only by my allowance that they've gone this far. However, they will not continue from here on in. This is a really powerful energy for you guys. And, you know, on the lighter side of it, this is very much about you guys being really present in your body, in your mind, in your energy. This is about, you know, that sort of, I'm feeling myself, right? And it's not in necessarily even in the egotistical way. It's just like now that you've reached that point of something and you say, right, you know what, enough, right? Where you just kind of, you feel the energy building within you and you say, okay, this is where I draw the line. Also, the Queen of Wands can be a fire sign female. So this could be an Aries, a Leo, or a Sagittarius woman, depending, or person. So your communications and conversations, you've got the Five of Pentacles. So it looks like you're redefining a financial boundary. This may be where you feel like you have given enough. And this week you're saying, you know what, this is why I'm drawing the line. I have given more than enough to this person, to this thing, to these people, to this cause, to whatever. And this week, because your Five of Pentacles is about lack of finances. Sometimes it can be where the finances take a dip and you're talking about this. This is what you're communicating about. This is what your conversations are focused on. This is about you redefining or reaffirming your boundaries over where you feel like you're actually being taken for a ride, where you feel like you may have given enough and now you're kind of not really in for giving anymore. Now the beauty of this card, right, if you look at it, they're actually inside a sanctuary, and what that kind of represents is when you look beyond the immediate circumstances, you can very often find the answer within them. So this week, by having these conversations, opening up the dialogue, having the difficult talk, at that point, and very often this is how things get out of balance. Very often it's not overnight that we find our lives out of balance. It's one compromise at a time. Each time we give away a piece of our power and our soul. Well, this week you're getting it all back. You're kind of like, you know what? I don't have time, nor do I have resources in order to waste. So I don't have the time or the energy or the resources now to do it bit by bit. It's all just going to come bubbling up to the surface. this is where it ends, right? Good for you. This is about you really standing your ground in a powerful way and seeking that sanctuary and saying, right, okay, you know what? It doesn't always have to be like this, but it does have to be me that puts in that energy to cause the change to happen. 5. The number 5 is all about change. Very often it's also about liberation and freedom. This is about you finding that inner power to say, right, okay, if I want this situation to change and I want that silver lining, and I want that the blessing in this lesson, I'm going to have to do something about it. And that's why your Queen of Wands is there. All right, your money and materials. Shit. All right, so you got the Devil card. This is exactly it. Where is it that you are holding on to something that just doesn't serve anymore? Something that is actually bleeding you of energy, resources, taking your time, possibly even affecting your health. This is the week for you to really pay attention to why you're holding on to something, Gemini. This is a week for you to really pay attention to what is it now that I really need to release in order to be free, in order to find that liberation. Your Devil card is always about things that we're unconscious, or things that we're tied to, that we subconsciously have bought into this idea that, oh, I can't do anything about it. Well, this week you discover on an internal level that you can do something about it, and you're addressing whatever this addictive pattern, person, thing may be, right? This is about you really owning up to that. And it doesn't have to be to anybody else. When you have that realization inside, about yourself, within yourself, for yourself, to yourself, you can't lie to that, right? You can ignore it for sure. Absolutely. That's how we get into these situations, right? The 5 of Pentacles next to the Devil card, this is about somebody taking advantage of you financially, right? And this week you could really be calling it like you see it. When you call it like you see it on an internal level, that's when really this happens. It bubbles up from the depths and you say, right, I'm not having this anymore. Now, interestingly enough, what's just coming in for me as well, as I see these 3 cards together, it may very well be that an event takes place this week that triggers that feeling and you say, wow, you know what? I'm actually being taken for a ride here and I'm no longer going to put up with it. For others of you, you would have been coming to this conclusion for some time, right? And this is about the arrival at that place. Very, very interesting week for you guys for sure. So your love and relations, you have the Page of Swords. There are some difficult conversations for you guys to have. For those of you that are single, this could be somebody that you're seeing. It could be somebody that you're toying around with the idea of seeing. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about the finances. This could just be where somebody's kind of stringing you along and you're at a point now where you're saying, you know what, I'm not really up for that. Are we in? Are we out? Yes or no? Right? This is about you really kind of being in that place and saying, you know what, this is where we're at. For those of you that are partnered, again, it looks like you're having some of these difficult conversations. It looks like, especially with your Page of Swords, right? Because it's almost going to be like maybe your partner this week decides to instigate a conversation. And what they end up getting is the full force of your Queen of Wands, and they're like, well, shit, that didn't go how I thought it was going to go. No, it didn't. You started the conversation expecting it to go one way. What you didn't pay attention to was how I've been feeling all of this time. This is about you really putting everybody on notice, letting people know exactly what you feel and how you think. And this is the thing with Gemini energy. It's jovial, it's fun, it's vibrant, it's clever, it is, extremely factual, and this is the thing about Geminis. They low-key clock everything. They might not necessarily talk about it, which is where I think people get this idea that they're duplicitous. It's not necessarily always about being two-faced. I think sometimes it's just the case of they're like, you know what, it's really just not worth mentioning. Your ruler does go retrograde next week, so we're already in shadow as this video comes out for the week that it is for. Mercury is in shadow. That is your ruler, and it's going to be in shadow in Pisces. So consider that, and think about it. If you want to get your retrograde survival kit, it's currently £10 off. Link in the description box below. Shameless, I know. So your key to the week, what is it that you need to know? The Magician card. Everything that you need to get yourself out of this energy, right? To get yourself out of this situation is at your disposal. Interestingly enough, the Magician card's planetary association is Mercury, right? So double hit of your own energy here, right? This is a very powerful week for you guys, providing you are willing to go in, have these conversations. Now, the thing is, I know a lot of people are probably sitting there saying like, oh, what conversations for Gemini? How cliche. Clock what I said to you before. You guys can talk the cows home, you know, charm the birds from the trees, all of that sort of stuff. You don't necessarily always broach the subjects that need to be broached. This week you don't have a choice. If you want things to change, you're going to have some of the more not so lovely conversations. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. And I think this week that's what you're going to discover, that you only got to this place by not saying what you really felt and meant at the time. You know, I've said it before and I'll say it again for every single sign. Say what you mean what you say, and leave it at that. If people can't take you at your word and they can't accept your no or your yes, you know, depending on the situation, they're probably not your people. All right, consider that. It's just a bit more stick rather than play this week, but you know I love you regardless. Besides, you know, we're sister brother air signs. All right, I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. If it's not too personal, please let me know in the comments how it shapes up. Take care, and I'll see you soon.